The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pac wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pac Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. I'm your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt. Joining me up at WB, busy man, but he's here, Pat Popolizio.
Always good to see you, Brian.
Pat, 2 weeks in a row.
I know. Business as usual here. We're getting in a routine.
We're really picking it up, man. I've been busy these last couple of weeks.
You've been hustling the phones. It showed this past week.
I was going to say, a lot of work behind the scenes by everybody. Real easy question. What did you think of that crowd for the UNC duel?
It was awesome. It was everything you could imagine to be a part of for at least college wrestling standpoint. It's what these guys pour their heart and soul into the sport and train to compete in environments like that. So hats off to NC State fans for showing up and backing this program this past week.
There were 4,383 fans in those seats. Now, wrestling's a little bit different. I talked to Deonte Wilson. He's in an interview in this podcast, but you guys really don't come out for warm-ups or anything. You hang out in your locker room. You came out a little bit before, but introductions is really the first time the guys got to soak in that atmosphere. What did you think when you stepped out there and it was just a packed house?
You can feel the energy in that building, just the way that it's set up, design, and how loud it gets. So I know the guys feed off that, and that's what they live for when you're competing in the sport of wrestling, is to be in an environment like that and showcase your skills.
Great home win, 19-14 over arch rival, number 8, North Carolina. Thoughts on the duel? Pac won 6, North Carolina won 4. It came down to heavyweight. Just overall impressions.
Yeah, I think when you get in those kind of environments, sometimes you got to see who's going to step up, who's going to perform. I think it was just really intense across the board. So I don't think it was our best wrestling in certain situations, in certain matches, but I think it was one of those where we found ways to win certain matches that we needed to, and, fight hard in other matches that weren't really going our way. But I guess you get to see who's really keeps their composure in those kind of environments, and that was most important, because we're going to be there. You get in the NCAAs, semis, and finals, and whatever, just wrestling in that tournament. It's rowdy, it's loud, and there's definitely some nerves that come into play, and how guys respond, I think, is critical. And anything goes. Anytime you wrestle a high-level duel like that, and in state, I think you see crazy things happen, which kind of did a little bit. I mean, that was drama-filled and exciting on both sides.
Tons of drama. Came down at the end. You guys celebrated, had a good time. The crowd was nuts. Did you have to talk to the guys this week about, all right, we won that one, we got to forget about it. We have Virginia Tech coming in here. It's yet another top 10 ACC team. Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. You got to, where we're at now, and I think we just went through it last week before that with Pitt. I mean, another really good team that we were able to come away on a road win. And then this week, obviously the excitement was high, but it's something we've really worked on over the years and short-term memory, putting that behind us. And again, anything in our sport, you got to go out and you got to earn. Nothing will be ever given to you. That's individual. And as a team, our guys know that, and they know the challenge that lies ahead for Friday night. What I do like is that our intensities had to jump up over the last couple of weeks. So it's nothing new to us to stay at this level and compete at a very high level against another really good team. So that works in our favor, I feel like.
I was going to say, I was on social media. I told you, I don't even think I went to bed Friday night. I was working so hard on everything. And Saturday, rolled right back into it. So I didn't get any time off. But
hardest working SID out there in the business. I tell you.
But a lot of people reached out. I know they reached out to me. I assume a lot of people reach out to you, the environment and all that. We did want to note one. You got a Facebook message, Jillian Murphy. She shared a very special story about her and her family. And it's just something that kind of touched you this week. And really, it let you realize what the sport of wrestling means to some of our fans.
Yeah, I mean, that's one that was kind of a touching email to get. I guess her husband recently passed away in an accident, and they were bonded by coming to the duel meets and just intrigued with the sport of wrestling, never really been a part of it, and it kind of brought them together with their daughter. And yeah, you get emails like that, and I think it puts a lot of things in perspective, because it has, one of the guys told me he's been coming to NC State athletics for the last 50 years, sporting events, and this was one of the top events that he's ever attended in person, which means a lot, because there's been some great history and tradition with NC State. But I think the people that were here from the beginning, I know you showed me a picture. I try to, maybe you can tweet that out at some point.
I am not tweeting that out. But
year one, with an ACC duel, and then you fast forward 8 years and you get in this environment, and how people just appreciate the growth. And I mean, I know we do as far as a program. This is huge. This was bigger than winning or losing. This is just seeing something kind of, I guess, hit a level where support and guys, they can feel that it matters here. And when you can get that many people in the stand cheering and being excited about a product, it goes a long way.
We're very appreciative of those 4,383 fans that were there. But new week, new top 10 foe. We have to get just as many people, if not more, for this weekend. Number 7, Virginia Tech. You've been all around the country coaching, wrestling. This rivalry with Virginia Tech, it's intense. The last 4 matchups, the winner won the regular season. 2 years ago, Boykin got that walk-off. Last year, Criteria. How big is the rivalry for NC State and Virginia Tech right now?
Yeah, it's up there, and I think it's one of those that it helps both programs when it comes to the end of the year. I mean, those guys have a great product. They do a great job. Their guys always wrestle hard, and you're in for a battle. And that's what we signed up for here, and that's what I think is going to make our conference better. This high level of competition, and we've encountered it now 2 weeks back to back. And you see teams that are bringing home trophies at the NCAAs. That's something they're used to every week, and now we finally have that. So I like where it's putting us as far as a program and a conference. And yeah, it's one of those, we got to be ready to go Friday night. We know it. Guys know it. They get excited for this matchup. I don't think there's a better date to put on the calendar than Friday being,
it's Valentine's Day. It's the perfect date night.
There's going to be a lot of love in the air Friday night. I can tell you that. So it's a great way to have this.
Maybe not between the teams, but my wife decided.
Everybody else, other than the 10 guys out there competing.
Now, we asked fans to come to the UNC duels. We are bribing them to come to the Virginia Tech duel.
I'm going to cut you short, because I think it's one of those. If you're not there, you're missing out at this point. People talk. That's all I've been hearing on it is the environment and just what goes on in one of these matches. It's one of those you got to see in person to witness the intensity and the drama and the emotion that goes out on the athletes that are out there competing.
Coaches are pretty fiery for both sides too.
That's good energy, and that's just passion. I mean, none of that ever gets too heated or wild, and that's just how much work guys put into it. So people get excited.
Virginia Tech duel, Friday night, 7:00. Doors open at 6, and that's very important because the first 298 people inside that door are going to receive a Nick Gwizdowski bobblehead.
I'm going to pull this one out right now.
Well, that's for Nick.
This one's for Nick?
I brought that one to show to Nick too.
Well, Nick missed the last duel, so maybe Nick needs to get in line. Nick needs to show up at 6 o'clock.
It is nice how Nick is back in town this week.
Well, you would think Nick will make it to the duel since his bobblehead is going to be out there.
But the best part about this bobblehead, one, it captures Nick's essence.
Oh, this is
But
great.
it really has Nick at 125. It might not be 125 kilos. His bobblehead might be 125 pounds with the shape. But it turned out spectacular.
It's awesome.
So we have, 297 now. I gave one away to Nick today.
I got one too, actually.
Yeah. Well, I counted yours and mine. Right. So we're down to 297. The first 297 fans inside Reynolds Coliseum will receive a Nick Gwizdowski bobblehead Friday night versus Virginia Tech. Very excited. We're going to be honoring some of our alums. We're asking Nick. We'll be honoring him at some point during the match. Big bout, ACC Network.
Yeah, this is going to be good. Having it on the network. It's something I just looked at the notes on there. There's going to be a lot of downtime in between matches because of the streaming or whatever the interviews that they'll be doing. So it's good. I mean, ACC Wrestling's arrived, and it's about time we rival any conference in the country when it comes to putting a show out for these people on the TV. So it's good. I think it's going to be something that long term really, really helps the conference with wrestling.
On this podcast, Pat, you don't know this, but I've been working all week on this thing. 2 interviews. Shawn Kenney, ESPN announcer, he's going to be on this podcast in a little while to tell us about his excitement. Also have Deonte Wilson. Guess what we're going to be talking about, that big win. How much of a confidence did that give Deonte with that win, the situation that he was in?
Yeah, and I was talking to one of his coaches back home after that match. It's someone that you can see grow as a person, not just wrestling, and it's instilled a lot of confidence in his wrestling abilities, one, but I just think as the type of person in life, I've seen this kid grow up in the last year and a half, coming from Long Island in New York, and then kind of coming out of his own and making a name for himself and really breaking out of his shell. But he has grown tremendously as an individual, as a person, off the mat. Just a great kid to be around, and it's awesome to see somebody develop in that aspect, and then also winning on the mat. I mean, winning helps a lot, but it's rewarding because you know how much hard work he's putting into the sport.
And he has got a great opportunity. He has a ranked foe up at heavyweight. I want to touch on a couple matchups really quick with you. 141, I love to point out contrast of styles.
Absolutely.
This is yet another one.
This is going to be one of those, anything goes.
So we have Tariq Wilson. He's standing about 7 feet tall. Number 19, Moore for Virginia Tech. He might be a little bit shorter, a little bit different style.
Yep.
These two met out in Vegas. Very close bout. Tariq hit a 4-point move right at the buzzer, as I recall, and got that win. But Tariq, his confidence is going good. He's wrestling really strong right now, really strong on top, but Moore just as good on top. You know, we might not see a lot of takedowns, but we might see a lot of action in this bout.
You're going to see a lot of action. Both guys obviously got a great style for wrestling, and it's different. So these guys are very familiar with each other. I think they've wrestled a lot in high school, and obviously the last one went in Tariq's favor. So we got to keep that momentum going our way and be ready to wrestle a hard match against a really good quality opponent.
Can you guess what my marquee matchup's going to be?
Heavyweight.
Yeah, because I like the heavyweights.
Yeah, now you do.
Well, Deonte was a guest on this podcast.
Yeah.
Heavyweights. All right.
I obviously know the other one. I mean, everybody knows that.
You messed me up because you thought you were
good. About time you got put in your heels.
184 pounds, number 2 versus number 3 in the nation. Both guys redshirted last year. Both very impressive this season. Number 2, Hunter Bolin. Number 3, Trent Hidley. What's Trent's mindset going into this bout?
Win. I know both guys are going to go out and compete hard. Trent's a winner. He lives for high-level moments like this to wrestle good quality guys. So this is going to be great. Fireworks are going to be flying. Guys are going to wrestle a hard pace, 7 minutes, nonstop action, and they're going to put it on the line. And I'm excited to see Trent compete because he enjoys these kind of situations and setups and being at home. You know, I'm sure the crowd will get into it, and we're gonna see who the last man standing is.
165, top 10 matchup. Number 10, Thomas Bullard. Number 6, Darren McFadden. Very familiar with McFadden. I think he's been in their lineup for 7 years now.
8.
Bullard, you sat him out last week. What's going on with him? Do you expect to see that battle?
Yeah, we're just being cautious and something that minor that happened. Cleared to go. He was cleared Friday, but really wasn't 100%. And wasn't really prepared that week going into that match just from the setback that we had and being off the mat. So it worked out. You know, we were still able to win the duel and rest him that week and buy us another week knowing that this is going to be another big match. So we're looking forward to him being back close to 100% in there competing and against another, it's going to be a big matchup against a good, really high-quality opponent. You know, he's obviously proven himself every year that he's one of the best guys in the country. So it's going to be a good test for us to see where we're at.
I think you could say all 10 matchups are big, but I think 125, Jacob Camacho, in my opinion, I think he's been wrestling probably his best right now that he's got. He'll be facing number 16 Prada. Jacob, he's right on that border of being ranked. They're fighting for that number 2 seed of the ACC tournament. If you start at that weight, this is a big one to start at.
Definitely. And I think they wrestled
They wrestled last year at the Hokie. I got it in my
Yeah,
notes.
I knew you
Hold
did.
on.
I knew you
Last year in the Hokie Open in the finals.
Yeah. So we're familiar with that. And again, it's been a roller coaster year for Camacho. He knows it. We worked on some things the last month that have changed his mindset and his wrestling tremendously. And they're not anything that deals with technique. They were things that we just needed to get focused in on. We're doing that, and we're back to being the kid that we know can go out and compete for a national title this year. So that's going to be a key matchup against, I'll say, a postseason Camacho guy that's got that postseason mindset, and his game has jumped up tremendously. So I'm excited to watch him go out there and compete.
Obviously hyping up this duel, but really I wanted to ask you real quick, RTC, Tommy Gant going down to Cuba.
Yep.
That's easy for me to say.
Yeah.
We talked about Mock. We talked about Gwiz getting ready for the Olympic trials. What about Tommy Gant? What have you seen? How have you seen him progress? And what are your expectations?
Yeah, he's made big jumps. I think the commitment, over the last year, he was in grad school over, whatever it was, a year and a half ago. And he's been able to put a year of just true training in and focusing on himself. So I think you've seen the improvements there, but the commitment level, he's a pro athlete at this point, and I think you're seeing that now developing the maturity and knowing what he needs to do. But he's right on the cusp of being one of the top guys right now, and he's got to close the gap, and that's why we're sending him out to compete. Just that those guys were all at the Olympic Training Center this past week. Donnie was with them, so we spent, I think, 10 days out there. So there's constant work going on behind the scenes with these guys, and it's great. They go there and they come back, and they pick up some of the best stuff in the world to obviously bring into this room. So there's a lot of value to all this.
Great weekend of excitement. NC State's last home duel of the season. It will be NC State versus number 7 Virginia Tech, Friday night, February 14th, 7 o'clock. Bring a date, bring a group. Nick Gwizdowski Bobblehead Day. Be the first 300 fans in attendance. You will receive a Nick Gwizdowski bobblehead. Pat, we want to see Reynolds packed yet again. That was an electric environment Friday night. We want to duplicate it back-to-back weekends.
Yeah, and our administration and support staff have worked extremely hard to make it an event now. When you show up, you get to see the excitement, and it's not just a wrestling match with guys out there competing. There's entertainment across the board. So it's a first-class venue with some first-class wrestling right now across the board. So it's going to be an exciting Friday.
Are you giving away the secret of what added entertainment we are having for that duel yet?
Why would I do that? Everybody's got to show up and see it firsthand.
Something new, something different. Our fans are really going to like it. We're adding to this Virginia Tech duel. I can't wait. What did the kids say? It's about to get lit in there.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
I guess. You must have been listening to some good music lately.
Wolfpack fans, please come out, support NC State Wrestling in the last home duel of the year against Virginia Tech. Get those tickets on gopack.com/buy tickets, or you can always get them at the gate. And we'll see you this Friday night. Now stay tuned for our featured interviews on this edition of the podcast. Joining us now via our Skype machine, Shawn Kenney from ESPN. He's the play-by-play announcer for ACC Wrestling on the ACC Network's Friday Night Duels. Shawn, we're going to be seeing you in Raleigh this Friday night as you'll be on the call for NC State and Virginia Tech for the ACC Network. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us about this matchup.
Hey, no problem. Always good to check in with you, Brian. And I'll tell you what, if the atmosphere this Friday night is anything like what you guys had last Friday with UNC, this is going to be a treat on the network, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Great crowd for UNC, but we want to see a very big crowd for Virginia Tech. Lots of previews. It's just going to be a great top 10 matchup. And Shawn, you're no stranger to the ACC. You've covered and announced matches for ESPN at the ACC Championships, but this is a new venture. The ACC Network launched this past summer, and ACC Wrestling has been featured with conference duels on Friday nights. The upcoming week, it's going to be week 4, and NC State, we're closing out that TV schedule. We have Virginia Tech and Duke, both on the ACC Network. How are things going from your end in doing the duels for the network?
Yeah, this has been a really exciting process, I think, not only for the ACC, but for wrestling fans across the country. As we both know, this has been a conference on the rise in the sport of wrestling. Last year, the 37 automatic burst, that was a conference high, and this is a conference that just keeps seeing that automatic number jump up every year that we're sending to nationals. And with what Mekhi Lewis was able to do for Virginia Tech last year, the first Hokie ever to win a national title, this is going to become the norm over the next few years. This conference is loaded with talent up and down the 6 teams. So to get the Friday night spotlight in a primetime spot on the ACC Network linear channel, this is just huge for the conference. So we can tell the successes and share the stories, because this conference is put itself in a position to be right behind the Big Ten and parallel with the Big 12 and some of those other conferences as far as the talent that it produces.
You've covered ACC wrestling for many years. From a national perspective, how impressive is the conference this season? Right now, we have 4 teams in the top 10, a first time ever in the NWCA coaches poll, not to mention all the individuals highly ranked. I think right now the ACC is up to 12 wrestlers ranked in the top 10. How impressive has the conference been this season?
Oh, it's been really impressive. And that's what's been so fun the last couple of years doing the national broadcast on ESPN, is bringing the input from the ACC to the national stage, because you have guys like, Tim Johnson and Jim Gibbons that are part of the Big Ten Network, and they go through that conference all year. And we bring in Anthony Robles, who follows the Pac-12, and just bringing all the conferences together and talking about the talent. And the ACC is there this year. Like you mentioned, not only the 12 ranked wrestlers in the top 10, but you're looking at some real stars. 3 wrestlers right now ranked number 2. Jack Mueller, Virginia, 125. He was a finalist, a near miss last year with Spencer Lee of Iowa. Of course, Hayden Hiley, we all know what he can do at NC State. He's hoping to get back into the finals. And then a guy we'll be watching as well this Friday night, Hunter Bolin. He's looked really good at 184. So not only are we getting the numbers in volumes as far as the ranked wrestlers, the quality and the really legitimate threats for national champions are there as well.
And I have to apologize. I don't know your weekly schedule when you prepare for these broadcasts, and pulling the curtain back here on the podcast, I'm catching you Monday. But we're going to look ahead. Friday night's duel here in Reynolds Coliseum versus Virginia Tech. What do you think of the season NC State has put together thus far?
It's no surprise. I've been saying it for years. What Pat Popolizio has done has been remarkable, with the atmosphere he's created in Raleigh, with his pipeline in the Northeast, and bringing down those guys into that North Carolina State program and having the success that he has. It's been one of the great stories in college wrestling. And oftentimes, and hopefully this is where the Friday night duels can help in this area, I don't think Coach Pop gets enough credit for what he's done in Raleigh. I mean, he has resurrected this program. And the neat thing about it, watching it from afar, he's doing it consistently, Brian, year in, year out. So it's not relying on just a one recruiting class cycle where you can really build success in the 3 or 4 years. He has put recruiting class after recruiting class and strung them together where they're a legitimate national contender each and every year. And that's what sticks out about what he's getting done there at NC State.
We're going to go on the flip side. You had Virginia Tech, UNC, that duel a few weeks ago, and that was really, they put UNC on the map with that upset win. But what do you think of the Hokies this season overall as a team?
I think Virginia Tech is going to be even better next year. You have to start with addition by subtraction, and they're without some of their big guns this year. Obviously, the Olympic red shirt decision by Mekhi Lewis, I think a lot of people knew that was coming. So you have a national champion who's not representing Virginia Tech this year, even though he's in that wrestling room training each and every day with a lot of the guys such as Bolin and David McFadden. He's not in that Hokie singlet. So that's a big blow for Virginia Tech. They've had the injury bug like so many teams do. They're missing some of their big guys as well this season, hoping to get them back next year. But when you look at their team as a body of work, they still have big-time anchors. And it starts, I think, with David McFadden. He's back down into a weight class that he had the most success in at 65. McFadden bumped up to 74 last year with the emergence of Mekhi Lewis. So McFadden back in at his comfortable weight at 65. He's a national champion contender. Now, the amazing thing about that duel was you saw North Carolina's Kennedy Monday go into Blacksburg in a ruckus Castle Coliseum and technical fall McFadden. So, again, that just shows you the parity in the ACC. when you get past McFadden, you have Hunter Boland, who's a national champion contender. He has been nothing but consistent, steady throughout the course of the year, a well-deserved number 2 ranking. And then they're hitting some other spots with some young guys. I think at 149 that there's hope there with Bryce Andonian. That's going to be a pivotal match as we go deeper into Friday night's coverage with Grippy. Of course, LaPrade at 157 matched up against Hayden Hidley. So they still have guys that are formatted with this lineup, I think, to do better in a dual portion of the season compared to a tournament-type format that we'll see at the ACC and the NCAAs.
This might be the biggest softball question you'll ever field, but lots of ranked wrestlers in this ACC battle. By the way, it's NC State's 3rd straight top 10 foe. Give us a ranked versus ranked matchup between the Pack and Hokies that you're looking forward to.
Without a doubt, easiest question of the day. You were right, and I'm a terrible slow-pitch softball player. But the Trent Hidley-Hunter Boland match at 184 will have eyes from all across the country drawn to it. I mean, the year that Trent has had, yes, he's an extremely talented wrestler. Yes, we knew about his freestyle success coming in, but you never know how somebody is going to react that first time through as a freshman. And, man, he has been dynamite. I've had a chance to watch a lot of his matches this year. He's lived up to the hype, and like we talked about earlier with Boland at Virginia Tech, he is a national champion contender. So you have 2 giants colliding at 184, and without a doubt, that is going to be the match to watch. And the other one that I would keep an eye on as you go through, and maybe more speculation, is at 165, where ironically each of these 2 teams' big guns did not wrestle last week. Thomas Bullard not in that Wolfpack lineup. It was Tyler Barnes in there last week in the win against UNC, while for Virginia Tech, there was no David McFadden. So question still at 165, but if we get Bullard and McFadden healthy and on the mat, that will be a good one as well.
I know you were telling me you watched some of our UNC duel, and I kind of want your point of view. Not sure the last time you were down in Raleigh, but how is Reynolds Coliseum as a home environment?
It's as good as they come in the ACC, without a doubt, especially when you pack 4,300 people in there. It's great theater for the viewer at home. I mean, the red and white, the enthusiasm, it's an educated crowd. They know their wrestling. It certainly is a home match environment, and it's certainly advantageous to the Wolfpack. Castle can get rocking at Virginia Tech. What Coleman Scott's doing in Chapel Hill, the Carmichael, very noisy. We were just in Pittsburgh this past weekend at the Fitzgerald. That's a compact venue, and it gets noisy as well. And Pitt's another sleeping giant in this conference. So, but when looking at the sheer numbers, we have not had a duel this year in the ACC with 4,300 people. So right now, Reynolds is atop the game in that area.
Our Wolfpack fans, they have a little bit of a challenge for them this Friday night against Virginia Tech. We need that Reynolds filled once again. But, Shawn, I appreciate catching up with you today. Look forward to having you come by practice and catching up with Pat and some of the guys ahead of Friday night's duel. Plug the duel and tell our fans where they can see all the action in this top 10 conference clash.
Yeah, we'll do. And I just want to say real quickly, Brian, I appreciate the work that you do in your athletic department, because, traveling around the country doing a lot of different wrestling teams, the information that you guys put out promoting North Carolina State is right up there. I mean, it's no coincidence that Pat Popolizio is having success on the mats, that you guys certainly showcase and let people know about it in a really effective way. So thanks for everything that you do. Friday night, it's 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern, the ACC Network. It's in that primetime slot. I'll be joined by Rock Harrison. Rock, a former ACC wrestler, along with an official, really brings a unique perspective as far as the officiating goes on those questionable calls, and they always pop up as controversial calls that go one way or the other. That's what makes our sport so great, the debate. Rock can always break it down from the official's perspective and really explains it. And what's neat about our coverage, too, is this is a sport that we want to continue to grow. So we take an approach with our broadcast. Sure, the wrestling fan, the guy that knows every move and the technique and all that, is going to enjoy it. But we also encourage viewers who are maybe new to the sport to jump in and learn about it and discover the stories with these wrestlers. We describe it in a way where we'll explain throughout the course of the duel why somebody does a certain move, how the points are awarded, how the scoring works. So we're trying to build the audience and just keep the momentum going, because this ACC is producing a lot of talent right now. So we're just trying to do our part on the network to make sure the stories get told.
Shawn, thanks again. I'm excited. I can tell you're really excited. So I can't wait to get you guys down here Friday night, NC State, Virginia Tech. It's going to be a great night of wrestling action.
Yeah, Friday can't get here soon enough. I know we're talking with the Wolfpack coaches Wednesday. Looking forward to that. And we'll fly in Thursday and looking forward to it. It's going to be a blast.
Joining us for the first time on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, no surprise after this past weekend's duel, we have sophomore heavyweight Deonte Wilson. Deonte, thank you for sitting down with us today to talk about that huge win in Reynolds Coliseum.
No problem, man. That was a good night for us all. You know, I'm happy the team had a lot of faith in me as much as I have in them.
I had to laugh to myself here prepping for this interview. So I've asked you to come do a couple things up at WB, shoot a video, be on the podcast. I've always caught you right after class. For somebody that might not be familiar with NC State's campus, explain to our listeners exactly what kind of walk it is to get from campus to WB.
It's a long walk, and it's up a bunch of hills and stairs. It's like, it took me about, I had to walk like a mile to get here. It takes like 15 minutes.
Some good cardio.
Yeah, it is. I'm a big man, though.
We're taping on a Monday. You've already had practice, a couple of classes. What classes did you have today? I have an African civilizations class. It's a really good class. I'm really interested in it. Other class I had, which I really didn't have because it got canceled, interpersonal communication. Also a very interesting class too. Leaning towards anything in particular for a major right now?
I'm leaning towards sport management. Yeah, really just something like I'm just curious about. I'm learning more and more every day.
Okay. Well, you can come work for me. I'll put you through the grinder. We'll see. See if you can help it. We're going to slide away from the student side of things. Let's get into the athletic part of student athlete. You're not a huge poster on social media, but you have all the accounts. Have things finally died down from the excitement of your walk-off win against Carolina this past weekend?
Actually, it's still going. But yeah, the team's just been getting me to post more on social media, build it up. They just been hyping everything up. It's been good. I like what the guys did with the video. That was really good. I don't know.
The video was Adam Hall was right in your ear as you were walking onto the mat. People like to joke. What was he saying to you?
He was hyping me up like he always do. I like Adam. He always right there by my side. Adam, Timmy, Pat, they're always back there making sure I'm ready, keeping me positive, making sure I'm ready to go out and just handle things. Just, trying to take pressure off of me. Like I said earlier,
You guys already had practice this morning. Mondays are usually one of the harder practices of the week. What was the vibe like in the mat room heading into yet another top 10 ACC battle, this one against Virginia Tech this weekend?
Mondays have to be our hardest days, you know. Mondays set the tone for the week. We have to go in stronger this week, you know. Another top 10 team, as we said, but we're just a team that likes progress.
Of course, I'm biased here, but your practice situation, it's got to be one of the best in the country. You have former national champions Nick Wisdowski and Mike Macchiavello. They're always around to help you out. They're both training for the Olympic trials, so they're not taking it easy on you. How much have you learned from Gwiz and Mock?
Man, I learned so much from them. They always talk to me. Anything about outside the room, inside the room, they're always talking to me. Like right before the match, I was talking to Nick, you know. They always making sure I'm ready. They always I asked him, I could talk to them literally about anything, even Tommy Gant too.
Now, you were thrown into the fire last year as a true freshman. How would you rate your rookie campaign?
I think it was very successful because it made me come into this year even stronger. You know, I didn't get to go to NCAAs, but it just made me even want it more this year, you know. I'm working harder. I noticed my mistakes from last year, and I'm doing everything I can to improve on it this year.
A lot of fans and media, they've been impressed with your gas tank. You're still going strong late in the third period. And how big of an advantage is your cardio? Because a lot of the heavyweight matches, they come down to the very end.
Cardio is a big thing, you know. I try to be different from everybody else. I try not to do the same things because, like, pushing, everything, like, I don't typically wrestle like the normal heavyweight, I think, you know. So I just try to use my athleticism to the best of my advantage.
What weight are you at?
Heavyweight, 285.
I meant, what was your actual weight?
My actual weight?
285.
Oh, I actually weighed in 250 that night.
Is that kind of where you like to be around, or?
Actually, a little bit higher than that usually, but okay. Yeah, it felt good.
So,
look good.
Zipping right in that match on Friday night, when you were up in New York being recruited, did you know what kind of rivalry NC State and North Carolina was?
Honestly, I did not. I guess I had an idea of it, but, you know, like, I'm up north. I didn't really get into wrestling like that early. You know, I got into the sport kind of late. I was just looking at my options. I could have figured out that it was pretty tough, but I figured out when I got here, you know.
Were there football aspirations up in New York?
Football? A little bit, yeah.
What position?
I was defensive end and defensive tackle.
Better against the run or the pass?
The pass.
Okay.
Pass.
All about the stats. But now 2 years on campus, going through the first time ever, these two teams, they were in the top 10. What did you think of the duel Friday night?
The duel? Obviously we wanted all guys to win, you know, but I think it just shows us how much we progress, you know, how much stronger we just got to keep going, keep pushing. You know, ACC is almost here. We're just training harder. Like, what it comes down to is that, you know, what matters is the end.
I think wrestling's a little bit different before duel for you guys. Now, you guys work out and get ready up here in WB in the mat room. Then you come down to Reynolds for weigh-ins and go to the locker room, but you only come out mat side for the intros. So obviously 285 is the last one to get introduced. What was your first impression of that crowd when you were introduced?
I just felt the excitement. Like, I was just even more excited to be there. And it just like, I have to perform, you know. It's like, I just have to put on a show. We came here, we're going to showcase our talents tonight. This is what we worked all week for.
I mean, there were 4,383 fans in that arena. I know wrestlers are probably the most focused athletes out there, but how did you tune out the buzz in Reynolds Friday night and focus for your upcoming match?
I mean, I'm pretty good with focus, you know. It's just something I've just been doing. Like, you know, it's just something I do all the time. We go to tournaments. We have to stay focused. Pat does a good job of, like, keeping us, like, in the zone. That's exactly why I go in the back room. I focus on just what I got to do that night.
That leads me to I was just going to say, your pre-match ritual, correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't spend too much time on the bench watching matches before you. What are you doing before your matches?
I watch a little bit of the matches, but I don't try to get into it. That way, like, I'm focused, you know. I'm not thinking about my match either. I like to keep a clear mind. So when it gets around, like, close to my match, that's when I start to zone in. I leave, I go in the back, start warming up and getting my body right.
Are you a music person?
I'm a music person.
Who do you listen to? What's your go-tos?
Meek Mill.
So we're going to set the scene. Friday night, Trent Hidley gets the major, but UNC comes back and claims a win at 197. One bout left. NC State's up 2. So, of course, it comes down to you heavyweights, winner take all. What were your thoughts as you were about to be introduced, knowing that the team's score was dependent on that final match?
Before that, a couple matches before that, during Daniel Bullard's, Reynolds comes to the back room and says, "This match is going to come down between me and you." Right then I knew. I was like, don't think about pressure, you know? At the end of the day, it's a match, you know? This is what we came here to do. This is what we do. We wrestle. And no matter what, you go all in, you go all out, you know? It's all or nothing. So that's exactly what I did. I just gave it my all.
I was going to say that UNC duel, the coaches decided to start at 125, meant you were last. Was there a time, I don't think in college, but high school, where it came down to 285 for your team win at all? Or was this your first time under these circumstances?
No, this is my first time. Yeah.
Okay. Not nervous at all? You just go out there, knew what you had to do?
No, this is, like I said, this is what we do. Pat does a good job with preparing us for these situations. Right. We always practice this in the room.
We'll go in the match a little bit. Scoreless first. You started down, got the escape early in the second. Looked like it was going to be 1-0 going in the third, but you got a great takedown late on the edge of the mat. It wasn't awarded at first, but the rest reviewed. Takedown. How big was that takedown very late in the period?
It was really big because I knew I needed a takedown. Going into the match, I was like, I got to get a takedown. As you can see throughout the match, I was looking for it the whole time, and I finally got it. It didn't matter when it was going to happen, but I just knew I needed to get it, especially before third period.
You nervous when they went into review knowing that they didn't even call the takedown to begin with?
Honestly, I was pretty sure. And you could probably talk to Pat. He probably could see that I was pretty sure on the side. I was really calm about it. If I didn't get it, oh, well, it's like I would have to work for it again. This is it's what I got to do. And I would have chased for it, and I would have probably got it again.
Third period, he chooses down, gets that escape. It's a 1-point lead. We're going to the final 30 seconds. Off of a restart, I thought he shot a little quickly, to be honest with you, but he got in really deep. How did you defend that shot and turn it into your own takedown?
I think it's really hard for people to do to score on me, because I have flexibility, I have good balance, but I was moving him. I just knew I had to move him. I kept moving him, and then he got separate. He made himself extended, and I just saw my opportunity, and I did what we practiced for. That's something we also been practicing all week in the room.
I was gonna say it was a quick decision. You went down, saw his ankle, grabbed his ankle, and that obviously sealed the takedown. Instinct, is that what you guys practice?
Yeah, it's mad awareness. We just got to see it and then just take advantage of it.
Now, this is a PG podcast. I have no idea how to edit. So can you tell our listeners, what did you mouth off once you got the 2 points?
I said I'm a bad man.
I figured that's what it was. I just want to make sure. But obviously, a lot of emotions. I think that was the most fired up I've ever seen. The way it went down, too, you saw our bench reaction. How excited were you after that final horn?
Oh, man, I felt like the celebration was almost the best part about it. Just seeing that the match was over, I'm so zoned in. All I see is my coaches and me and my opponent. That's all I see. And then when that match was over, I just come out of that space and I just look around and I see 4,383 people, and just the excitement just got to me, The celebration, I see my team celebrating, and I just kept flexing, and it was just a great moment.
I was gonna say, now granted, NC State's gonna keep winning here every year, but you might not get another chance with that with that big of a crowd, the excitement that was. I hope you got to soak it all in too.
I did. It was a great experience. The biggest thing about it, I think it was, I'm just happy my team had a lot of faith in me, the same faith I have in them. If they were put in this situation, I expect them to come out with a win, just like I did.
Was anybody in New York able to come down for this duel?
No, but they were watching.
I was going to say, did you make sure everybody got the videos and saw you and got to celebrate with you?
All my family got the videos. All my friends got the videos.
All right. Typical sports analogy. You have to enjoy the win that night, but on to the next.
Yes.
Your next bout comes this Friday night, the home finale. Another top 10 ACC duel is number 3, NC State hosts number 7, Virginia Tech. You have a ranked matchup in front of you. Virginia Tech's John Borst. He's been ranked all year. You didn't face off last year against each other. What do you have to do to get another ranked win this Friday night?
I have to get the takedown. That's what I'm about. Takedown really decides the matches, especially at heavyweight. And then right from then on, we just got to see what happens.
With the streak that you're on now, great win against UVA, this win, how much confidence do you have going down the stretch and going into the postseason, maybe compared to last year?
The biggest thing this year was my confidence in my shot, my defense, my riding, my ability to stand up to my feet. It's just been getting better and better, And I talk to my coaches. We have one-on-one meetings, and we just speak about it all the time.
Deonte, appreciate you stopping by. we always take care of our heavyweights here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, but so glad you could catch us up and just go over that win on Friday night. It was one heck of an environment.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack wrestling fans, go Pack.
The Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MatTalkOnline.com.